Here is a tour of our Seed Starting Planner Google Sheet template. When you first open it, the first thing you'll need to do is click File, Make a Copy, edit the name of what you would like it to be called, and then click Make a Copy. Once you've done that, you'll now have your own copy on your Google Drive that you can edit anything about it. You can then also delete out this note here in red, which is just reminding you to make that copy. Because when you first open this is the master template. It's the one that if I make edits to, you'll see them in live time. That's where if you made edits, everyone else that has the link would also see it in live time. So you don't want to do that. So as soon as you open it, click File, Make a Copy, and then you're free to make any edits you would like and make it your own. Throughout this template, anything with a white background is safe to make changes to, add things in. If it has a colored background, there's a good chance that there's a formula attached to it, and if you make any edits there, it could affect the functionality of this template. This page here, there's two sheets. So this one's the settings, and we have these different columns all set up, and each of them is linked to a drop-down menu on the Seed Starts sheet. It's set up this way so that you can very easily add in additional items to each of the columns, and they will automatically appear on the drop-downs on the Seed Starts. So the first one here, we have our zones with some frost dates that I just pulled from the internet, but definitely add in what your specific area is with data that you know. These were just, if you have not a clue, at least it's a starting point to work with. And then from there we have a column for the categories of plants, sun amounts, the type, and we have the brand of seeds, the soil type, and then location, so where you'll be planting those plants. So that's the first sheet, the settings. The next one is the Seed Starts, and this is where all the details are, the true kind of seed planner is. We have many columns in here, because if you're anything like me, I always feel so overwhelmed with seeds. There's so many details and dates and this and that and calculations that I'm always overwhelmed and just sit there flipping through seed packs and never really getting anywhere with it. So I made this to help myself out. This was me starting to put in some of my own seeds that I have, just to give a sense of how this all works. So when it's in your hands, though, you've made a copy, you can just highlight all the rows and click delete, and it'll wipe it all clean, and you'll have a blank slate to start putting in your own plants. So up here, this is to do with your hardiness zone. So this is linked to this step 1 on the settings page. But it's set up so that you can very quickly select what zone you are, and then it'll automatically change the last and first frost date, as you can see there. And then these dates are used further into the sheet to make some calculations for the seed starting dates. And then here, so we have to put in the plant, the variety, if there is a specific one. And then for categories, this is linked to the categories column. These little blue hyperlinks up here are just quick links. So if you are looking at the drop down and realize one's missing, then you can just click on here and it'll automatically bring you to that column on the settings page, so you can add in your whatever's missing. So yeah, here if we did type as well, it would just bring us right to the type column on the settings page. So we have categories, we have the brand, we also have the seed pack code. So on the seed pack itself, there's often a little identifying code so that you can find the same seed pack again when you need to go shopping. And then we have a spot for type, the sun amount, soil type, and then any directions you want to make note of, whatever's on the pack. And then we have the column here for if you're growing it this year. Just because you have the seed pack doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be seed starting or planting those seeds in this current grow season. The thing just to note here is if we jump ahead a bit, you can see there's a bunch of grayed out cells. And I just have it set up that way that if it's grayed out, that means you haven't selected that you're growing it this year. In other words, you don't need to fill in these cells later on, and it just makes it easier to see the information. So you can see here, if I click on these, like deselecting this one, turned those cells gray. But if I click on it again to say I'll be growing it, the gray is removed and it shows that you can fill it out. So it's just like that throughout all of these here. And then next up, we have kind of the inventory portion, so quantity of seed packs. So to write in however many you have on hand and how many you need. And then this one, the next column's in purple, and that's because there's a formula set up. So when I move over, it'll automatically show me that I still need 2 more packs for this season. Then what you can do here is all of these columns are already set up to sort and filter. So you can sort them, and now we have up top here is our shopping list to go to the store with. So we can see we need 1 pack of super fantastic tomatoes, we need 2 packs of dill, and 2 calendulas. And then moving on, we have our seed depths for planting the seeds, and then we have direct sow or seed start. So this drop down isn't connected to the settings page. It's just only these 2 options. And the thing to notice is over here on the transplant date, if it's set to seed start, it stays white or this light gray. And if we change it to direct sow, it grays it out, because being sown directly in the ground, it won't need to have a transplant date. So that just blocks it out, so you know you don't need to fill it in and that you're not missing details. Next up, we have our seed starting range. So with these ones being a yellow background and a purple background, there is formulas attached there, so do not touch it. Where this comes from is the zone you've selected up here and these frost dates, as well as at the far end of the sheet, if we scroll all the way over, it's these columns here. So on your seed pack, it usually says start 5 to 6 weeks before the last frost date. So in this case, you put earliest weeks before last frost date. So that's generally the bigger number. In this case, right, 6 weeks before, 10 weeks before. And then in this column, put the latest weeks before last frost date. So generally the smaller number. So right, 5 weeks before, 8 weeks before. On some packs, they'll say to start after the last frost date, so that's where you'd use a negative number instead of a positive. And then if it says to start right around that frost date, if you just put in a 0, it'll use exactly that date back in these columns. As shown. If it has a little dash in the cell, that just means that there is no weeks inputted over in here. You can see that these ones are blank. So if it shows a little dash, that just means there's dates need to be, or weeks need to be added in those last columns. So we have another one here just for once you have started the seeds, to check the box. You can fill in how many you started. And we can add in the date started. So if we were to say March 1st, you can see over here that it put in expected maturity dates. And those were the other 2 columns next to the seed start range. So this is also often shown on the seed packs of how many days from seed start to expected maturity. Sometimes it's a range, sometimes it's just the one date. So whichever one's in there. These ones are set up to days, so you do need to calculate how many days. If it's shown in weeks, I just put a quick converter up here So it's very easy to find out how many days and can fill it in instead of weeks. So it is important to note that these columns, these are number of days, and in this one here, it's number of weeks. And that is important for the way the calculations and formulas are set up. So to always put weeks in these two columns and number of days in these two columns. So yeah, you put in the date started. If you've put it in and you see NA for not applicable, that means that in those very last two columns that we're just looking at, that there is no date put in. So you can kind of see here, this one shows a date, and that's because it says 75 days. And this one here shows NA, and that's because this cell is blank. And if it's a dash, it just means there is no date started inputted yet. And then if there's a transplant date, you can put that in here. And then we have location, so where you'll be planting it once it's ready to go. And we have plant spacing, row spacing. And I just added in a column that if you're planning to plant it the next year, maybe it was kind of a bust and you go, no, not doing that one again, or yeah, that one worked great and we'll definitely need more, and just for your future planning. And then the last column here is for any additional notes. What worked, what didn't, things you noticed, just whatever you want to record for the seeds from that season. And that is everything on the seed starts page. The only other thing to really show is just, these filters and sorts. So on any of these columns, you can click sort A to Z, or you can, there's not so much for the filters here, but down here, you can also, all these blank cells, you can click this, uncheck it, and they all disappear. When it's highlighted like that, that means there is a filter applied. So if you're unsure, you just go look around, but there we go. The blanks is unchecked. So if we turn that back on, it shows them again. But you can go through and do this for any of these. So categories, if you want to see all your flowers, all your herbs, then you can also down here too, if that's all you want to see on the screen, you can just uncheck everything but say herbs. When you click OK, that's all that you'll see on your screen. So that's kind of handy for creating a shopping list also when we're looking at the inventory part here. Right, another way of making your shopping list is to sort it and then uncheck any of those dashes. And now you have your shopping list to go to the store with. And that is the tour of our seed starting planner. I hope you enjoy and have a great growing season.